Ready? Alright.
Whoa.
What the fuck is that?
That was timely.
Locals.
Is it recording?
Yep.
Okay,
Alright.
cool. Hello.
Welcome.
You say it.
Welcome to this week's edition of the How Not to Be an Asshole podcast. I'm your host, Todd Williams, aka Louis Nux.
I'm Dominic.
And over here we have Dan Morby.
Hi guys.
Motherfucking Dan.
Yep. A few things to get out the way before we
You're so
start.
organised nowadays.
Kind of,
You're a
eh?
new man.
Man, I'm very hungover. I'm surprised I remember this shit.
Don't say hungover in front of Richie.
Sorry, Richie. Don't give away who the guest is. It's a surprise.
Beep that out, Dan.
Beef it out. We've now got an iTunes account after much fucking around for Dan. So you can now listen to the podcast on iTunes.
You can subscribe to it.
Yeah, fucking subscribe.
The photo's not up for some reason that we don't know why.
Nah, but fuck, you already seen what we look like. It's not that exciting. Also, want to give thanks to Daily Blog, who are now posting the podcast. Very happy about that. There's been a couple write-ups and whatnot, so...
Wireless.com.
Yeah, the Wireless posted something about us.
It's almost like being on national radio.
Yeah, same thing. What else? So I guess we're gathering a little momentum.
Yeah, it's like a car with no brakes.
Yeah. I think it's funny, like, we got Jacinda on the podcast and all of a sudden people are like, oh, shit, these guys are kind of for real, but nah, we're just still dickheads.
Shit. Dickheads with microphones.
Yeah. Gotta thank Mr. Leon Taylor for our design, Cameron Robinson for the photos, Dom and Matt Short for the awesome theme
You're going to do
music.
this every week.
We have
How long
to.
is this going to go on for? You
One day we'll drop it, but
All
for
right.
now, let's keep being thankful. Can't wait till we got money and then we'll fucking forget
Become
everyone that
fucking
helped
assholes.
us. Yeah. All right. Should we introduce our guest?
Yeah, do you want to do it?
All right. I guess
We'll go back and forth. You say one thing about him, I'll say one
all
thing
right.
about
There's
him.
lots of things to say about him too. This could take up the whole episode and he just doesn't get to say anything. This week's guest is our good friend, Richie Hardcore Stewart. He's been described as the Justin Bieber of Muay Thai. You go.
He's a former pro kickboxer.
He works in alcohol and drug prevention.
He's the poster boy for a new campaign against sexual violence.
What else does he do? He always tells me not to do drugs and smoke cigarettes.
He trains people how to fight.
And what else do you do?
I do a radio show.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Radio show on BFM.
Yeah, so he's a broadcast professional.
Yeah. He can teach us a thing or two.
Yeah. And what else? He likes POD.
And he's handsome.
Yeah.
Aw, thanks
Yeah.
guys. I do like a bit of POD.
Yeah, I know.
I am mad at new metal.
Why do you have to bring that up for?
Because
No,
it's
You're
just,
so good. He was like, fuck yeah.
this guy's
Oh,
incredible.
shit.
And then they're like, what?
Not new POD, old POD.
What is POD?
You know that.
Payable on Death. It's like a Christian new metal band.
You know
And
that.
that's this week's podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
You remember that song? You know, we are the
Right.
Yeah, that horrible shit.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like once back in the day when I came train with you in the city, you were playing that.
Yeah, 2003 or 4,
Yeah.
circa 2003,
Yeah.
2004. Just to clarify, I can't say I actively
No.
listen to them now.
Yeah.
But they put on some that comes on, you know, I'll be like, yeah, boy.
Yeah, get psyched.
Did you ever walk out to that song?
Nah. I only walked out to hardcore songs, Madball, Bring Me the Horizon.
Yeah.
These nuts last time, wasn't it?
These Nuts was my retirement fight.
Yeah, fuck, that's pretty cool for them.
Yeah, I sent JJ a video.
Yeah. I think I was still in Australia and he was real psyched.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of JJ and his band. Good dudes.
He's so handsome too.
He's just a really thoughtful guy, you know? Yeah. I'm looking forward to the new album coming out end of April.
Yeah, it's real good, eh?
Yeah, it's real good.
Yeah.
I haven't been allowed to play it on radio, even though he sent me an advance copy of it.
Yeah. That's a nice ring you're wearing.
Thanks. It was my wedding ring. Well, it's still always been my wedding ring, but I've had it remade
Oh, yeah.
since I'm divorced now.
Yeah.
Like a divorce ring.
It's a divorce ring. What's your ring about? Commemorating a massive failure.
It is a nice ring.
Yeah.
I'd like to have some jewels.
We didn't mention that in your bio. You used to be married.
Used to be married.
Yeah.
Like-
Divorcee. He's a divorcee.
Divorcee.
this week's guest is a divorcee. Justin Bieber and Muay Thai.
It's actually an interesting thing, like divorce. Like people don't talk about it a whole lot.
Yeah.
Like, but you know, what about 50% of marriages end
Really?
up-
Is it that high?
I think so.
Yeah.
I haven't googled the stats, but
Wouldn't
it's
it
quite a
depend
high
how long you were
percentage.
together? Because if you've been together for like 10 years and you break up, I mean, that's a good run, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Mm.
I think a lot of people look at like not just divorce, but anything that doesn't necessarily work out as planned as a failure.
Yeah. Well,
And I'm jesting when I say it is failure because I think that whole 10 years is like whatever or however long it might be is like it's cool. It's like
Yeah.
you grow and learn, and that's just part of life. You know?
Isn't it weird? Because like the say it was a relationship where you didn't get married, it'd be just as serious a relationship.
Hard up.
But then there's way more stigma attached to it being a divorce.
Yeah.
Like people like, oh, they fucked up or that's a failure.
Yeah.
Whereas if it was just a long-term relationship, people be like, oh, they broke up, that's sad. Or
Yeah, that is an interesting distinction.
Yeah.
It's like your relationship. I guess there is like the legality of being married, and you
now
have
you
to
got
like.
the civil, not civil
Yeah,
union.
well, you can
What's
get
it?
civil unions,
De facto.
but de facto relationship.
Yeah.
Like if you live with someone
that
for
2
what, a
years?
year or 2 years,
Yeah.
then you know legally there are ramifications if you separate around property
Yeah.
and money and yada yada.
soon as I heard about that, I was like, man, I just need to spend 2 years with one rich woman.
And then you were balling.
I was like, but man, I can't even last 2 years with a woman that I actually like. So
yeah, let alone
yeah.
like some vicious.
It'd be more
ag
like a
voter.
job,
Yeah.
though, you know what I mean? You're not
Yeah.
good at jobs, though, either, are you?
no,
Fuck, you're fucked.
yeah, I'm done.
You got a job? You're working for Naranga Toa now.
Yeah, I got a job. It's cool.
How's that working out?
Yeah, it's dope. It's,
Responsibility.
For the
yeah,
listeners that don't know, Todd, this is a rarity.
yeah. I'm not very good at jobs and stuff, but
You're good at rapping and retail.
yeah. Fuck. Yeah, no, it's interesting because I'm terrible with responsibility, but with this job, the responsibility is real. Like I'm responsible to these young people, so
Yeah,
I can't fuck it up.
You're in a position of influence.
Yeah.
You're shaping lives.
Yeah,
I'm not even being silly.
Yeah,
Like,
no, yeah. I can't let them down, and that's my job, not to let them down. So
When you're working for someone that you fucking hate doing something you hate, you're like, I don't give a fuck.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
stealing their
I'm gonna
products and-
steal.
Yeah.
Turn up late, turn up drunk or something. Sorry, Richie, but you know.
No, that's all right. I remember when I was 19 and turned up hungover at work, doing a retail job.
Yeah. What were you doing?
I used to work at like farmers.
Really?
Yeah, dude.
Fuck, I'm trying to imagine you.
I don't think I was. Yeah, maybe I was 19.
Just slanging 5 packs of socks to the public.
Bro, I've done all those crap jobs. You know, like working with farmers. I worked in worked at Wickles at the airport one time
Weird.
for like
That
a
must have been
month.
dark.
Yeah, it was so
Yeah.
dark. I had like a massive. Do you remember Shelley DeResney?
Yeah.
I had like a real big crush on her at that time, and we were like hanging out, and like I was like real crap with girls, and I was like too nervous to like.
I think I remember this.
Yeah, and anyway, I was working at this shitty airport job, so I'd hang out with Shelley, like magically wishing something would happen at like 2 a.m, and then nothing would happen because I was like a wimp about like kissing girls that I didn't really know.
Doing retail.
And then like I drive to the airport like 2 hours later, like hating life. I'm like, got this crap job, can't kiss the cute girl. You know?
It's
and
like,
then, like,
it's like
we're-
a pop punk album
Bro, it was
right there.
fully a pop punk album. Yeah.
Were you listening to POD on the way driving out
I
crying?
probably was. Or maybe something a little more angsty. Maybe
Fuck.
maybe like Blink-182 or something.
Doing retail in the airport's some
Oh,
special
dude.
kind of hell.
I
eh?
lasted 1 month and then I was like, this sucks.
Yeah, man.
Like-
Seeing all those people going places and...
Yeah.
What's the worst job you've had, though?
Whew, that's a tough one. I had to wash dishes in this restaurant called Sourdough when I was 16, and it was
Yeah.
just so fucking busy, and it was awful. People yelling and screaming at you.
Yeah.
I'm giving a talk to school leavers like in like Auckland, Wellington, and Christchurch in like May and June around employment, and like I'm gonna be like, yo, find something you love, because now everything I do that pays the bills, I'm real passionate about. Whether it's like the drug and alcohol job or sexual violence or teaching people Thai boxing or I love everything I do, and like I get exhausted and tired out because they're all like emotionally engaging jobs, but it's fun, you know, like, and I feel like I'm living for a greater purpose.
Yeah, hard out.
And I feel like connected to the wider community, and
you're not told that that's possible. You know what I mean?
And so this is when I do this talk, I'm like, yo, I used to work these crap jobs, and I know exactly how unfulfilling that is. And like how it leads you to be like, you know, I just want to like get wasted every weekend or whatever it may be, to make life a bit more bearable.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I'm really looking forward to that talk. You know,
hard out.
I want to like, you know, I got like 20 minutes to talk to some eager young minds.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
And I want to be like, yo, find a passion and like stick to it, and like,
and be prepared that maybe it isn't going to make you a lot of money.
But there is more to life than
hard, because when, you know, like, I think like everyone has these fucking crises of what am I doing, whether you're doing what you love or you're working some shitty job but you just bought a house, you know what I mean? And I'd rather have that and be fucking passionate and incredibly fulfilled.
Being where like you've probably been a bit more successful and been a bit more, you know, because of the kickboxing thing, like you've been doing, but like I think for Dom and I, what we're discovering now is just, I guess like because we've been fucking broke so-called musicians for like years and years, but it's still been fucking worth it, you know? Like I haven't had to fucking...
You've had a life less ordinary. You know, like you've traveled the world with like super famous musicians, and rock crowds all around the globe, and it goes back to what I was saying earlier about relationships, that like we look at end goals, and like if you're not where you're meant to be at this age, then you're a failure, and all that early times of failure, but it's not. Like you guys are now in these cool positions where you with Narangata Toa, and like young people are looking to you, and you're sharing all that experience that you developed on this journey that you're on.
I think the kids we work with too, like you look at them, and the traditional pathways to employment and careers is not going to fucking work for them.
It's not going to fit for them,
No.
Yeah, so, especially because a lot of them, you know, they're already in their teens, so they've already developed
habits and beliefs and values.
I always feel like you should just be like, what are you passionate about? Fucking just get good at that. Don't worry about anything else, man. You know what I mean?
For real.
And I have like, I'm a big believer in having like 2 or 3 strings in your, you know, in your bow.
Yeah.
So like, one that makes you money, and one that keeps you healthy, and one that's just fun, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt.
And stick to those sort of 3 things, you know, and like it'll coalesce. It just takes time as well.
Yeah.
And we live like a real impatient society, and people are like, I'm not successful straight away.
Yeah.
You know?
It's weird when you meet people, because like I never had any of that sort of pressure growing up. But when you meet people from families like that, and they're just like real young people, and they're like so stressed about what they're supposed to be or what they're supposed to do, and you're like, whoa, you need to chill, like, fucking, don't worry, like, just fucking go have some fun for a while, like, do some things, experiment, see what you like.
Yeah, I went back to uni when I was like 26, and like graduated when I was like 31, and like, there's no rush, you know, like, as long as you're growing. And there's a general forwards movement in some direction, I think.
Yeah.
And I think in anything, you just got to be prepared to be a bit foolish and to not be cool, you know? Like, it's the same thing, like going back to uni. Like, so I went back to uni in my 30s. And and you know, you feel like a dick because you're like fucking shitload older than everyone there.
Yeah, I was the guy at the front of the lecture class, like, always asking, like, questions and having done my, you know, done the readings. Yeah. But it was cool. Like, university's cool when you're older.
You're fucking unfazed in your enthusiasm, the way you just...
I don't care.
If you like some shit, you give no fucks.
I give 0 fucks.
But it's the same with, you know, fitness. I mean, you go running, you're going to look like a dick when you're running. Yeah. Dude. But it's like, fuck it, you know, you're going to get fit.
I was going for a run the other day, and someone I know texted me like, were you just running down Ponsonby Road with your shirt off? And I was like,
damn straight.
I was like, yeah, I was. And they were like, oh. And I was like, it's hot.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I do that? Yeah. You know?
You got a nice body
hot,
too.
Richie.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Yeah. If I had your body, I reckon I'd just throw all my t-shirts out. Fuck, I ain't scared of winter.
I think a lot of people are like, oh, you're doing that because you want to be seen. But it's like, nah, I'm just doing it because it feels good.
Yeah,
you know?
No
like,
doubt.
it's not about other people's perceptions of me. It's like
running with the breeze in your chest
I
hair.
love that stuff. I'm like, tweak the nipples. That shit is hard because it's a little bit cool. But it's like, you know, you go to Thailand enough times, like I've done, and no one wears shirts when they're running, and like it just sort of becomes a habit and a thing, and like, who cares about social convention in some regards, you know?
No doubt.
Most regards.
In many regards, social convention's bad for us. You know, like we're always trying to put, you know, square pegs through round holes.
Well, we were just talking about this last night, eh?
Well, I can't remember.
Oh, you that drunk? We were talking about mainstream society and how when we discuss it, it's not like saying, you know,
that's right.
the majority of people are fucking idiots and we know what's up or whatever like that. It's more like just saying that the mainstream is just like some parameters that you're allowed to live within. And if you live within those, it's okay. You can do whatever you want. It's a kind of freedom, but... And you can do super negative shit, like you can eat burgers every day and watch the most disgusting porn. And
that was my talk last week.
Yeah.
That's exactly what my talk was last week. So I did this talk at the Women's Collective, and I said exactly what you're saying, is that what we have established as normal behavior is actually really shit.
Yeah.
You know, like 1 in 3 Aucklanders is in a healthy body weight range, and there are like social and economic factors which dictate like dietary choices, but also it's all right to be sedentary, you know, like we don't encourage health and wellness in a holistic sense of it, you know, and so we're dying earlier and having a lower quality of life because so many people are overweight for, you know, a number of reasons. We have normalized like drug and alcohol abuse, you know, like it's normal to like puke up on the weekends and be hungover and you're a soft cock or a homo if you don't drink or you drink like 2% beer.
Yeah, I watched some teenagers drink on the weekend. They're like 17, and they went down to the store. Some idiot bought booze for them because I refused to.
Yeah, good for you.
And fuck, getting old, eh?
I know.
and they came. They were gonna drink their alcohol on the street, and which I didn't think was a good idea. So I told them to come back to my sister's place, where they could drink in a safe environment. And they were like behaving and shit, but fuck, they're grabbing like 2 beers at a time out the box, like someone else was gonna drink their beer or whatever. They were just fucking.
Yeah. But that was the same when we grew up. Though.
Yeah, exactly. Like I know it's no different, but observing it now as an older person was like, fuck, man. Like our drinking culture is really fucked, and like, cause you don't associate substance abuse with escape when you're young. You're just like, I'm partying and I'm having fun. But then observing these kids, and I'm like, fuck, they're trying to obliterate themselves as quick as they possibly can. I was like, man, there's something about that.
And it sort of ties into what we're talking about. It's like, if you're doing some shit that you hate every day of the week, like it's a job that you don't like, then maybe that's what they're escaping from. Or, I don't know, maybe they've been through like some serious trauma.
Nothing.
Because like drinking to socialize is normal, and everyone's doing it to excess. That masks the coping mechanism. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And I think a lot of people that you're encouraged to look up to, obviously, in retrospect, as an older person, you realize that they had serious drug and alcohol problems.
Dude,
mental illness.
Like Wiz Khalifa or like, Wheezy, you know, like Lil Wayne and stuff. Lil Wayne's like a functional...
Fuck, that dude doesn't look good these days.
Dude. He's a crazy functional drug addict. Yeah. And all his raps are about, you know, lean. And it's like... All right, I like your music, but what are you normalizing for the young people growing up listening to you?
It's a strange drug to popularize, man.
But everyone raps about it.
Yeah.
It's such a shit drug, man.
Yeah.
I haven't done it, but it doesn't sound like it.
I reckon, like, especially from this part of the world, because you can't even get it in New Zealand, but you see people talking about it and they just want to be cool. And it's like, you haven't even done it.
Have you got permission?
Yeah, and you're talking about it, it's like, and if you had, then maybe you'd know it isn't so great.
Yeah. Even last night, like, I went to Flosstradamus and it was a real good time. And, like, scientifically speaking, cannabis isn't that bad for a mature person to use regularly. Or semi-regularly. But for young people, like when your brain's still developing, it puts you at like a delayed rate of brain maturation. Yeah. It's a fact. Like it's mad science behind it. And the raps last night was like roll up the blunt, you know? And there's like a whole crowd of all these 18-year-old kids wilding out to it. Yeah. And that normalizes that behavior. Yeah. Flosstradamus like, yo, smoke weed every day. I'm like, Come on, dog.
Yo, the way I used marijuana as a teenager was unhealthy because it was like a fucking competition. Like, how much weed can you smoke?
How much can you smoke? And
instead of just smoking to get high and enjoy it, it was like just smoke until you can't anymore. Like until you pass out in the kitchen and like burn your head on the stove.
You know how everyone always says it's like good for pain and shit, and I always just thought that was bullshit.
No,
but since I've had arthritis, man, it's the best fucking thing.
Yeah.
Like you forget that you have it.
I think people misinterpret how I live my life, which is being completely absent from all of those things.
Yeah, I wonder if people that don't know you think you're real judgy because you're not at all. Like,
I work in drug and alcohol, and I advocate for legalizing cannabis.
Remember when you came to Australia and I was just on the fucking biggest bender of my life, like join.
Do you remember the time when you pissed? I thought you pissed in someone's bed or something.
No, I was pissing in the hallway.
You're pissing in the hallway. I woke up with a start because like Snacky D was all like, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? And it was, you were like pissing in the hallway.
She reckons I was just pissing on the wall in the hallway, and she comes out and I was like, Todd, what the fuck are you doing? She reckons I turn around, looked at her and just go, shh.
It was a while. You were on one that whole weekend.
It was an intense weekend.
It was an intense weekend. That was a great weekend.
It was
I
really
reckon,
good.
yeah, drinking and taking ecstasy ups the chances of pissing in inappropriate
I've
places
never
by
pissed in
100%.
an inappropriate place.
It's because you've only taken ecstasy once.
One time.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
In Sweden.
Good memory.
And just you've told us heaps of times.
Just to let you know.
It's your one.
I know what you're on about. I'm down with the kids.
It's your one drug taking story,
But you know, like Molly is a club night now. That like and that's lame. I think.
But I think the problem though is like because you can like I don't know as an artist you can see how taking those sort of like drug references and all that stuff and fucking with that. I don't think there's a problem with that. It's just more that we have a culture where people aren't educated about and
sensible use.
And also that, you know, like getting therapy or like being mindful and that shit, that's like totally either not talked about or looked down upon.
Yeah, and I think all these things are slowly changing.
Yeah.
You know, like there's like John Kerwin doing Out of the Blue or Mike King, who's talking about mental health and depression. That Nutters Club. Which I co-host for him. I mean, I host for him when he can't do it.
Yeah.
But they are, I guess, like older demographics. Because, you know, listen to the conversation we're having as guys in our mid-30s. It's a lot different to how we would have talked when we were 20 or 25.
No doubt.
And it's like, how do we do it so you don't have to wait till you're 35 and make all those mistakes and have some real, you know, human suffering happen because of the shit that we did, whether it's relationship breakups or criminal justice problems or just being not that happy. How do we get it so like teenagers and early 20s people know it's cool to ask for help and know it's cool to like moderate whatever potentially negative behavior you're involved in?
Yeah.
Because it's like, why do you have to make so many mistakes until you figure out what's good and what's not? And I guess part of that is being a human being, but I do think there are like social norms that we could change like culturally so young people don't have to hurt so much.
Yeah,
totally. But maybe make it. I guess if therapy and counseling stuff was more accessible,
and cooler.
Yeah,
you know, like.
Well, you know, like I think I might have discussed it before on the podcast, but people from poor environments don't like all. It might have changed recently, but when I grew up in a poor environment, people didn't even understand like mental health issues. They were just like, you're either sad and you just like, because people are like too busy trying to survive to fucking worry about, you know, like getting help or
talking about
it's just like
hard enough.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, you're sad or you're angry or you know, and that's just what it is.
And I think there's still those enduring myths, you know, like.
Oh, it's so backwards in this country. Do you remember? Because I remember when I was like had a full fucking mental breakdown. I wasn't eating, and you told me crying all the fucking time, and you told me like to go to a therapist. Remember you gave me the number.
Yeah.
And fucking a bunch of my friends like, don't go, man. What the fuck you want to do that for? I was like, dude, I'm like pretty much gonna fucking die if I don't do something. You know how bad does it have to get?
Yeah.
You know?
That was.
I didn't realize people tried to talk you out of my advice.
People just like, fuck, come on, man, what fucking do that for? You know? Yeah. Like, we're not like close friends, but still, you know. Like,
I remember that time real vividly, man, and it was so distressing to see a friend like that, and I was so ill-equipped
2007,
so ill-equipped to like be a good friend to you and be like and give you advice because it's just like, what do you fucking tell this person? He's a fucking mess.
Yeah. People don't know how to help. I was saying that on my Facebook the other day. I was like, a lot of people get in touch with me because of what I talk about publicly, looking for assistance. And it makes me sad that like they'll talk to some random dude that they heard on the radio or on social media rather than a friend or a family member or know where to get help professionally.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm just like a conduit for like, go like this, because I have a pretty good working knowledge of drugs, alcohol, sexual violence, and depression. You know, I fucking bring the party.
But that, I mean, that's good though, you know, like.
But I'm like, so how do you mainstream it and make those things more visible? You know, I was at the second Louise Nicholas Day, which was a review of like sexual violence and law changes, Tuesday of this week, and Calvin Davis, Labour MP for Tita Tokorau, he was talking about, hey, why is there no one in Parliament, no male in Parliament, anyone in Parliament talking about sexual violence? And that's what his whole cope of it was. Like, he's really into, like, making that important.
Yeah.
Because he's from, I forget where it's from exactly, but he's a principal of a high school and he's talking about, have there like 13 cases of sexual violence brought to his attention in, like, I don't know, it was a really short time frame, like maybe 3 or 4 weeks.
Seriously?
I can't remember the exact details, but it was super high. Yeah. And then he organised a hui, and then people were like, well, what are we going to talk about? And like, what really is going to go on? And then nothing came of it. And then, you know, a few years later, he saw, I forget the guy's name, but it was like a child sex offender from his region, and he was like, could have prevented that, you know what I mean? And so it's like, why don't you have, you know, people at a high level publicizing all these different things?
Why do you think that is?
It's a difficult conversation to have.
Yeah.
I mean, talking about sexual violence in particular. You know, I would argue that we live in like a rape culture which normalizes sexual aggression towards women. And to say that is confronting for a lot of people. Every guy will say, I'm not a rapist, my mate's not a rapist.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what sort of porno do you watch?
And
you know, or do you yell at girls when they come out of the gym and they're in their crop tops? Or have you ever grabbed a girl's ass in a bar? Or like, do your friends, and when your friends do that, do you say anything? Because that's unlawful sexual connection. There's no consent in grabbing a woman, but it happens all the time.
Yeah.
You know, like you talk to any woman and they'll be like, oh yeah. You know, oh yeah, that's happened. I just don't think about it anymore. It's happened so much, you know.
Yeah.
Fuck, it's so heartbreaking when someone tells you that shit, and you just feel like,
dude, I feel like going
so
to stomp
naive.
people's faces. You know, I'm like, yo, fuck you. How dare you do that to someone I care about? Or how dare you do that to anyone? It's not even about like, what is your connection to the person something bad's happened to? It's like, you shouldn't treat human beings like that.
The thing is, don't you find also that, like, okay, so that's physical harassment, but I get just as angry now when a friend of mine tells me she's yelled at on the street. I'm like, that's just as fucking bad, and I think people...
It's just as bad, because it creates an environment where women don't feel safe. Yeah. You know, I text my friend today, just go for a run or go for a walk, and she's like, it's nighttime, I'm a girl, I'm not going to do that. And it's like, I don't think about that because I've got male privilege. Yeah. And that sucks. And I think that's why we don't have those conversations, because politicians are beholden to what is popular in mainstream culture or what a mainstream understanding of normal is. And for John Key or one of those guys to come out and say, we live in a rape culture. Well, look at what happened to David Cunliffe when he said, I'm sorry for being a man. Yeah. He got roasted by the media. He got roasted by mainstream people. And what he was saying was actually good.
That was probably the best thing he did.
It's the best thing he did. And that was taken out of context and ripped apart. And all these people like...
ridiculed.
He's ridiculed. Not all men are like that. Well, the fact of the matter is, and it's a fact, 1 to 3 to 1 in 4 women and 1 to 8 to 1 in 10 men are victims of sexual violence. Generally, the offender is a man, whether it's against men or against girls or boys or women. And yet we're not having this conversation at a high enough level, at a sustained, conversation.
Do you feel like it's changing at all?
I think it is slowly. I think there is a slow movement developing. But, like, sexual violence got like $10 million for the next couple of years. You know, I'm doing this new poster campaign with the Ministry of
Spending
Social
it all
Development.
on you, eh?
I wish. I wish they were spending that $2 million on me. They've got a small budget, you know. It's not a lot of money to reach the whole country.
Yeah.
And yet we're spending, $83 million on developing a new flag.
Yeah.
Like, what's more important? People getting raped and sexually assaulted as children, which happens all the fucking time, or a flag.
Isn't it depressing anytime you see news about there not being enough money for something important? You just instantly think, oh, that's right, we're spending all the money on a fucking flag.
Yeah, or like sending troops to Iraq.
Yeah.
Or
even just the fucking motorways they're building constantly.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I mean? It's
Yeah, and so I do think there is a slow movement towards challenging rape culture and sexual violence, and it's cool. Like I am happy there are people like Calvin or Jan Logie of the Green Party. Like there are people in Parliament, but they're still the minority. It's not like a mainstream conversation that we're having.
I thought something that was really cool that happened. It was about a year ago, and you posted something on Facebook. I think it was maybe around when the Roastbusters didn't get convicted, and then there was like a bunch of people jumped on and just said some ignorant shit, you know, basically, but no, I'm not a rapist, or all that kind of carry on. And then a lot of people came in and supported what you were saying, and heaps of them were kickboxers. You could tell by their photos.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really rad.
I thought it was cool. Yeah,
From something like quite a masculine
sport.
Yeah.
And that
hyper masculine, perhaps.
Hyper man, definitely.
Yeah.
Like that's an element that's of my life which a lot of people don't understand. They're like, yo. You teach people to elbow people in the teeth. I'm like, yeah, I do, and I like it.
Yeah.
And but I think there's nothing wrong with I think humans and men, whether we're socialized or it's a biological determinant or a combination of the two, there's always going to be aggression and testosterone. And it's a matter of channeling it into motor racing, which I think sucks, but motor racing, but it's still like a thing, you know, or Thai boxing or boxing or CrossFit or whatever it may be. You need to burn that energy up, you know?
How do you reckon we burn ours up, Dom? What do we do?
Crying and masturbating.
Or masturbating, you know?
Cry
but you rap and you write poetry or whatever, you found a conduit for that aggression or those feelings which are difficult to deal with. And I don't think we've necessarily mainstream that enough, and that manifests in our high rate of suicide or depression or substance abuse or sexual violence. And we need to keep having those conversations and dedicating funding and policy from a high level. And also then we have what we do, you know, working in NRT or me working with my communities, which is a bottom up, you know, and then we meet in the middle, and that's how you change society. You just need a prolonged amount of that and prolonged funding.
Yeah, I guess hopefully once national funding get out, that there can be some kind of change, you know. I mean, I'm not holding my breath that Labour's going to come through, so Jacinda, but hopefully, you know.
Yeah. And even, you know what, even work on, everyone should be able to agree that sexual violence or substance abuse or depression and suicide are bad things.
But that's the kind of thing I think that could change under a Labour Green coalition.
But I'm why can't, I'm sure there are people in the National Party who agree with us, but, I mean, they can't all be fucking that bad, can they?
Well, I mean...
You can live in a bubble, though. You can,
But everyone in that party at some point sat down and they said, we're going to close the Rape Crisis Centre, and they didn't say, fuck that, it's important. You know
that's a good point.
To save, what was it, $300,000?
Yeah, it was next to nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So I think that really shows where
values,
the hearts are.
I did listen to Toby, what's his name? He's a National MP, Toby something or other. He was on BFM's news show maybe yesterday, talking about why he worked for Philip Morris. And I was like, listen to him justify the career advancement and opportunities he got from working for one of the world's biggest killers. Philip Morris, if you're not familiar, is the cigarette company behind Marlboro. And for the record, if you buy Kraft Foods, Oreo, peanut butter, their cheeses, that's a subsidiary of Philip Morris. You know, all that money goes back up the top. Yeah. You should see it, what Philip Morris owns. It's heaps. It's ridiculous, you know? But I'm like, man, and you're a decision maker in the country that I live in, and it makes me really sad because you're driven by your personal development and your financial gain and your career success rather than caring about other people, you know? That makes me really sad.
Are you going to break down?
I'm feeling a little... Yeah,
this is the first breakdown on the podcast.
I find myself doing this a lot lately. When I
Yeah.
start talking about what I'm really passionate about, I get a bit teary.
It's good, though.
That's
It's
what
good to
happened.
care.
I was doing this...
Don't make Dom cry. We know he's a big crier.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't want to
I think this is why my talk went so well the other day at the Women's Collective,
you
because
keep
I was
choking
talking
up?
to a room full of women and I kept choking up. And they're like, oh, he's so sensitive. But he's got tattoos and muscles.
Yeah.
I like kicking all the goals.
It reminds me of, I can't, I can say, but last night watching Dom doing poetry, and like most of them are political and funny, and then he did a couple love poems, and there's like a group of women next to me, and I just heard like soft, oh, and it's like, oh, romance.
Now would be a good time to review.
All right. Thank you, Dan. Dan now prompts the segments because we're fucking useless at it. This week's segment, I'm going to review Dom's show last night. So last night, New Zealand's best poet, Dominic Hoey, played at the Wine Cellar again. Seems like the only place that'll have him these days. And I think he got paid 3 pieces of pizza, which is...
I actually got 2, someone grabbed the other one out of my hand.
Dude.
two pieces of pizza, which is even worse when you know that he's not supposed to eat gluten. And... yeah, I'm going to give the show like 2.5 out of 5. Good show, Dom.
I went to Flosstradamus last night. That was wild.
Yeah, we saw that video.
Yeah.
Well, we walked past.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
dude. So dude, it was wild. There's so many kids out there, like, hammered. It goes back to what we were talking about. This one dude was sitting on the fucking pavement and he'd puked up all over himself and on the concrete. And this is a little bit funny. And then he dropped his iPhone into the pile of vomit.
Oh, dear.
And then he picked it up to, like, make a call. And I was like, yo, dude, call your mum because she needs to come and get you. But, like, the vomit was all over his face. But Flosstradamus was cool.
Yeah,
like, despite, like, his pro-cannabis abuse messages, it was a really good time.
When we were walking past, it's like, fuck, where are all these people when Dominic was doing
Poetry.
spoken word poetry?
Yeah,
That's
that's
the
talking
other
about my
thing.
love life.
Talking about your love life. That is a funny thing. Like, we do live in, like, a society that, I guess, doesn't encourage depth until we get older. Do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
I think we all bonded because when we were kids, like, actually, I probably met you when I was like 20 or something, and I know, mid-20s I met you, and like, I guess we've always been a little bit outside of that mainstream idea of what cool is, you know? Or we've just done our own shit because we're all a bit, like, messed up and weird. And, like, no, but true, you know?
Yeah,
like,
no.
I think people, like, you know, some people, like, see me be friends with, like, JJ, or people do heaps of drugs and alcohol and sing about it or whatever, and, like, how does that work? But I'm like, oh, it works because we both have a sense of alienation and not fitting into mainstream parameters, and, like, we just deal with it in different ways.
Yeah.
You know, like, I deal with it through, like, exercise and yada, yada, yada. Other people will, like to party or whatever, but you have a conversation with those people at one-on-one, and, like, you click, you know? Like, you get what is wrong with the world, and just because how we live our lives isn't on the same page.
But you are different to it. And there's other people out there like you, and I've met them and chilled with them, but there are people out there who abstain and are fucking assholes about it and really judgy.
Judgy, yeah.
Like,
I think there's probably a period where I was a little bit like that, like in my mid-20s and stuff, but that's just...
But you've had friends all your life who do all those things, so you can't...
Well, I'd rather have that than hang out by myself. Because everyone parties. I think I was quite angry a lot around... I was, like, quite angry and a little bit judgy and stuff because, like, some of my personal relationships have been, like...
affected.
They've been affected by, like, substance abuse. And there's a difference between abuse and use, you know? Like, if you fucking taking ecstasy once a month and having a nice time, all good, you know? I mean, I'm not with it. I don't think it's I wouldn't advocate for that, but, like, most people are pretty functional and have a great life, and that's the extent it is. But when you're doing it week in, week out, that can lead to some problems.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think also it's the same though when you know, whenever you care about someone and they're doing something that's kind of fucked, you know, even if it's like their political beliefs.
Yeah.
Just eating shit food.
Yeah,
or,
exactly.
You know,
I'm like that. That's my new thing. I have to, like, withhold myself and be like, yo, dog, put down that burger. Because
you're just walking down, like, Ponsonby Road slapping burgers out of people's hands and shit, like...
But I get bummed out. Like, I'm like, you would be so much happier. You know, you hear people moan about, like, oh, I'm a bit bummed out, I'm a bit depressed, or I don't like how my body looks. And I'm like, okay, well, you can follow these steps. And I know it's hard. It is difficult to set new habits up, you know, but people don't try sometimes. And
I think it's the same though as the therapy thing. It's not accessible.
It's not accessible, and it's
Yeah.
also not acceptable. You know, like if everyone else is doing the same shit around you, and there's like that health nerd over there who's like hashtag like bodies for life or whatever the fuck.
We live in a society where I didn't know that bread wasn't good for you till
Yeah,
I was over 30. You know, like
and, you know, a bit of bread once in a while not gonna kill you. You know, like I eat some organic toast. You know, when I go to a restaurant, it's all good. But it's like we live in a society where it's like fast food and carbs and like super saturated processed meats and all the time, and it's bad because it's not bad because I give a fuck about what you look like. It's bad because it's killing you. Like people are dying earlier because of what they eat.
But do you think part of it is that there's so much money in the sort of fitness health thing that they don't want people to know that it's just quite simple?
Yeah, you
know
could
what I
definitely argue that. Like, you could definitely argue that. You could definitely argue that they want you tied to machines in gyms rather than going for a walk in the park and doing some push-ups on the playground.
Yeah.
But but it's like, well, again, from a top-down level, why doesn't the government spend more money making physical education cool and accessible? In schools,
like even in school, because that's what put me off till I started doing kickboxing, like when I was like 23 or something. Like the idea of ever exercising was just like the wackest shit.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
know?
It's like,
And that was for
this
PE.
is the thing, is that like all the shitty things have got billions of dollars to make their image cool. So Coca-Cola and McDonald's and KFC, and it's like the KFC sponsor boxing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the, you know, or Woodstock Bourbon sponsors like, you know, charity events.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool, that just totally undoes what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
You know, because they wouldn't market those things in that way if it wasn't successful. It is.
Yeah.
It like impacts behavior and cultural norms.
Yeah, I think-
There's mad science about it. And all the good ideas have got like these pitiful budgets, and they get like C-grade celebrities like me to endorse their products. I'm like,
I know you're on the way. I reckon you'll almost be now.
your stars
do you reckon
rising.
B? My stars rising.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you could get Joseph Parker to talk about sexual violence, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
That would
Who's
be so
Joseph
cool.
Parker?
Boxer.
He's like our number
Yeah.
one boxer right now, like world number 8.
So I didn't know who you were, Joseph.
He's like he's like a really good boxer. You know, he's managed by Kevin Barry. He's killing it on Sky TV and stuff. And he would bring like such mana to those sorts of messages.
Yeah.
Have you tried reaching out to him?
Nah, I don't know him personally.
That's surprising. So I just assume everyone in
fights
combat sports in New
boxing.
Zealand knows each other. Like,
Nah.
You
Nah,
probably know someone that knows him though.
oh, totally. Yeah, I would. But it's do you want to put your face to a sexual violence campaign?
But he might.
He might, yeah. I don't know. He seems like a nice enough guy through his media statements.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, there's not a big budget for people like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like some of those people command quite a lot more money than.
You just pissed him off. Come on, man.
Come
Come
on,
on,
buddy.
Joseph.
But you know, it's just but one example, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Our celebrity stars rising now, Dom. Like we got some from the podcast. Like last night, got recognized by some podcast fans.
I like it when it happens.
Yeah, it's cool.
I like it.
One guy was like, "Can you make the podcast 3 hours long?"
Let's go. It's nice. Like, you know, I know like Auckland is small and New Zealand is small, and people can argue like, oh, you're a big fish in a small pond. It's no big deal. But it is nice when people come up to me like, yo, I really like what you do.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, yo, thanks. That's cool. I'm really glad that
It's
it has
all in
a
the
positive-
approach, though, way. Like, because some people can be real painful.
Real dicks.
man.
I was out with my friend Otoha last night,
Yeah.
and like, dude just like yelled at her, alright, and you're like, why don't you just be like, hey, I like your radio show.
the best, and this, like, as a fan of lots of other people, I've like tightened my approach. So the way, if I see someone and I like what they do, the way I approach them, I go up and I like say, hey, shake their hand. I really like what you do.
I'm the same.
Have a good night and bounce and just
Yeah,
like,
I'm totally the same.
just let them know and get the fuck out.
And I'll
don't-
judge, like, do they look like they're are they breaking up with their lover right now? Like, do they want a
Oh
stranger to talk to
man!
them?
I was having like a real involved discussion with my significant other on K Road, and this dude comes up. He's like, "Sick tats, man." I was like, "Fuck." I was like, "Yeah, thank you." And he was like, "Fuck, take your hat off." And I was like, "Oh, now's not a good time, bro." And he's like, "Oh no, just take your hat off for a second." I was like, "No, now's not a good time." And he's like, looked put out. I was like, fuck off.
I'm
like,
talking to my girlfriend.
Yeah, like, get the fuck out. Like,
yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
People are odd. That is the other thing about, like, being more accessible through, like, social media and stuff like that. Like, I'm increasingly having weird conversations with people I don't know.
I found one the other day. There's some guy who's like asking where he can find my music online. I tell him like, cool, thanks for like grabbing it. And he's like, bro, do you get into like aliens and shit like that? Pardon me? Excuse me, sir?
I know that people are out. People are out there, man.
Yeah. What a weird way to want to connect with someone. The way, bro, aliens.
I like the X-Files.
I just get to talk to people about poetry and their feelings.
I actually get a lot of people getting in touch, like I was saying earlier, about like, how do I get help for stuff? Yeah, which is kind of sad.
And fuck, that's a scary responsibility too. Fuck, I had the best experience around that though. I had this dude, a fan from Germany, and he messaged me one day, and he's like, my friend is like your biggest fan. She has a pet turtle named after you. He's like, she's real depressed and she's tried to kill herself before. Fuck, I'm giving too much details away about they're in Germany. And he's like, what do you want to get? He wanted to get he was giving her like a framed picture of me or something. He's like, could you please write her a letter? And I was like, yeah, fuck yeah. I was like, so I wrote her this letter, sent it to him, and he gave it to her with a present and shit. And he was just the nicest dude, cared about his friend and wanted to do something lovely for her.
Yeah.
And then last time I was there, first show of tour, they were there.
Cool.
And they came up and I was like, oh shit. And they were just the nicest kids, man, real young. And it was beautiful just to see this guy that cared about his friends so much.
Yeah,
and like,
cool.
And I kicked it with them for ages, like just hanging out outside, drinking and chilling, and fuck, it was so cool, man. That was like, yeah, a real rewarding thing to know that meant something to someone.
Yeah, 100%. It's nice when you can impact someone's life.
Like when someone enjoys your stupid personality that much.
yeah.
Like in between all the nonsense that you get on your social media and shit, like occasionally something incredible like that happens.
I like following like our like A-grade celebrity friends, like your boy Ollie Sykes and stuff like that, because they have such a positive impact on people.
Yeah.
And like, it's nice seeing them put good things into the world.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like I've followed Bring Me the Horizon since they were a band that sang about just getting wasted. A band that sang about rehab. And you know, like
that's just maturing.
And
like,
it's maturing, and it's cool seeing what they put on social media that helps young people. Yeah. And I don't know. I respect that rather than just like continuing to try and sell your product, you know? Yeah. I guess that's what I like a lot about like hardcore and metal and that whole kind of related scene is it's, to me, some of the bigger artists still keep that community sort of vibe going. Yeah,
and ethics. And
ethics,
morality
and that happens in hip-hop too. Yeah. But I don't...
Yes, so.
Do you think so? I'm not sure.
Definitely. From my experience, I mean, obviously, I haven't been really super involved in either scene for a long time, but definitely hip-hop's much less community-focused, you know.
It's still a lot more about Air Jordans and like...
Well, generally, it seems to be people that do give back to the community are kind of people that have either stopped doing it or aren't really at the top of the game.
There's some cool people, not at the top of the game. So, like, I like Jasari X and, like, B. Dolan and that sort of, like... That sort of crew, Brother Ali.
You see last week, so Jay-Z buys the streaming site title and launches it, and it's like they're charging more, and they're like, artists need to make money, and all the people there fucking millionaires, like just saying artists need more money.
Yeah, like it was like Nicki Minaj and Beyonce.
Like, I agree.
Was fucking there.
I agree. Artists do need more money, but not you fucking assholes.
Yeah.
And then people like are saying, oh man, Jay-Z's out of touch. Like it's surprising. It's like fuck, he's been out of touch for 10 years.
Yeah, he's not selling drugs anymore. No. It's a long time.
Imagine if he just quit on the Black Album, eh?
Yeah.
You know, and I've never been the biggest Jay-Z fan, but I mean that would have been like quite a cool legacy. But now it's just like, dude, you're a fucking fool.
You're embarrassing. Yeah.
But he's really one of those people. He's like, you know, incredible technical rapper.
Yeah.
But that seems to be the only thing he can really do. Like he doesn't seem like the brightest spark. Eh?
No, I don't think so.
I went to Nas. That was a cool show.
Yeah.
Nas
he's
got a cool
He's
vibe.
an interesting guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see a documentary about him? That was cool.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah, I think he won that battle.
Yeah, same. Always did.
Yeah, me too.
That Ether song, I just listened to it the other day.
Yeah.
I just like what he raps about more.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's still a shame that like mainstream radio stations generally pump like the shit raps.
Oh man, I was driving a car with just radio in it for like the last 5 days, and the kids I'm driving always want to listen to My or Flavor. And man, it's just the same 10 songs. Like, fuck, I was like, man, I should run a successful radio station. You only need 10 songs at a time. And some fucking people that are prepared to be clowns on air. Like, hey, doing this. And
I mean, I don't mind some stupid rap. But like,
I love stupid rap. I live on it.
I like Kevin Gates and and Gucci Mane.
I loved them until he did that I Like Beating My Wife song. And then I was
Who
like,
did that?
Kevin Gates.
For real?
I don't think it was I love beat.
I
think it was
the song.
The vibe was definitely, it's my business. I want to beat up my girlfriend.
You reckon?
What
I
song
reckon
is
it
that?
was.
What album
I
is that?
thought
That's horrible.
Supposed to be in love or something. What I took from it was like an honest song about domestic abuse.
He didn't seem that repentant though.
He's a very fucked up individual. He's really strange and messed up. So yeah.
He's into eating butt.
But yeah, man, like you can dumb
Who's
rap,
not?
dumb rappers.
I'm not. I have
Who
zero.
got Giardia from eating someone's ass?
Oh no.
We probably can't say that, eh?
No.
We probably don't want you telling.
No, my gay friend was like, he was out and reckons this dude he'd slept with came up to him and was like, man, I got Giardia off you. And I never heard of this, but I didn't realize that was a thing. I was like, oh yeah, of course, dudes are like eating each other's butts out. And,
I would never eat a butt.
Really?
man,
Yeah.
get into it.
Listen to how incredulous you are. You're like,
Is that the title for this week's episode? Oh, I've never eaten a butt. Man, no, you should get into it, Richie. But
I don't know.
Change your life.
But yeah,
I'm not vanilla in it.
Yeah.
I'm just not interested.
yeah, that's
fair
cool.
enough.
For the record, though, our friend was like, I haven't had Giardia, and I would have known if I had because it makes you real fucking sick. So it's like, sorry, mate, you got the evil Giardia somewhere else.
Well, you didn't catch Giardia from it. Don't you just get it from shit?
Yeah.
But you gotta have it though.
Giardia? Or isn't
I
it?
thought it just comes from shit.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Or are you thinking of like are you thinking of like a coli?
Yeah,
We need a scientist.
Or we need a
Yeah.
science?
Dan's a resident expert on Giardia.
Why don't you look on the internet?
I can't. I've got.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
I could.
Got a Mickey Mouse operation running
Right.
here.
Well, regardless,
Let's do some live research.
I don't want to eat butt for
2050.
not even for Giardia fears, just because it doesn't seem like that nice.
We'll just have to agree to disagree on that, Richie.
All right, I'm happy for you. Get wild. That beard's got to get in the way.
You know what comes up in Google just under if you search how do you get Giardia, the next the next autofill that comes up is how to make pancakes. Then how to tie a tie. Then how to train your dragon. How to write a CV. How I Met Your Mother. How is how to tie a tie the third result? How's that above how to write your CV? 'Cause I
Or
reckon
How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah, that's a movie. That's
Oh, is
that's
it?
a movie.
How
Yeah.
I Met Your Mother, that's a movie too, isn't it?
No, it's a stupid TV show.
Oh, right.
But yeah, you know. All right, how do you get Giardia? To prevent and control infection with the Giardia parasite, it's important to practice good hygiene, avoid water. Oh, wait, that may be contaminated. I thought I just said avoid water, full stop. Prevent contact and contamination with feces.
There you go.
Then in brackets, poop during sex.
Does it say that?
Look out for that poop, man.
Look at you. What website is this? Wikipedia.
That is Google.
Oh.
They're just-
It's like when you go to the doctor and they say poo instead of feces. It's like, man, just use
Come on, man.
medical
You're
terms.
a doctor, man. Your education
Don't make this
costs
shit
a
awkward
lot
for
of
me.
money.
Let's see what happens when we Google you.
How are we doing for time, Dan?
No, 5.
5 minutes.
5 minutes. This has been seamless.
Yeah, smooth.
Yeah.
We never fucked it up by asking Dan for the time.
We're born to talk together.
I know.
Yeah, this is...
Well, this is how the podcast
Yeah,
started.
let's see how it was.
You know, from
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
that radio show together.
Oh shit! Fuck. So if you Google Richie Hardcore, the first result is Richie Hardcore saves the world.
That's right. I'm on the process.
And then the next one is Richie Hardcore fight, Richie Hardcore kickboxing, then Richie Hardcore porn.
What?
Any idea what that's about?
For real?
Not porn like porn. We had this.
Not pornography.
This is the second time that word's
Yeah.
fucked us up.
Where's that?
That was the fourth result.
Oh,
that's-
PAWN.
Okay, that's unrelated
Hardcore
to you.
porn.
Yeah.
Rich from hardcore. Yeah.
No.
No, that's not me. Phew. Disambiguation. Yeah, that is how this whole brainchild started. You came up on the radio show, and people
liked
loved it.
Yeah.
Except for that one guy, remember? There wasn't one guy that was like, shut up and play some
There's
music.
always haters, dude. The other day, I was playing, like, some metalcore and hardcore, like, some sick of it all, like, Godfathers of hardcore. And I played New Stick to Your Guns, and then I played some Deftones. And, like, two people like, what's this angsty shit? And put it on iHeartRadio. This radio show sucks.
You know...
And then these other people are like, this rules. So good to hear this music in the daytime. And I'm like, just because you don't like it doesn't mean it's bad music.
Well,
you know what I mean?
The weird thing about complaining about fucking radio is fucking turn it off.
Yeah.
Fucking, do you have a laptop?
Yeah.
Just fucking go entertain yourself. Play some music you want to listen to. Fucking...
And also, like, it's BFM. Music's going to change every 2 minutes anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I find...
And I'm like, why take the time to tell someone something mean?
Yeah.
It's also that
Unless,
thing though,
like, they're doing something that's hurtful.
Yeah.
You know, like... If you're being a racist homophobe on the radio, then maybe tell them they're a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
But you know how that guy that texted in, he was like, "Oh, this is just fucking politics for dummies," or
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And there's always that thing like, it's like we didn't say we're fucking geniuses. You know, we're just talking about some shit. And also, these ideas generally aren't getting discussed.
Exactly.
So why not talk about it at a pretty simplistic level? Like, I don't want to fucking confuse anyone.
Yeah, I'm not going to be like, well, actually, sir, I've got a degree in politics. What do you know about international relations and embedding the market?
Isn't it interesting?
It's like, yo, fuck you, man. Like, it's not for... It's, you know, it's just like, broach the topic, go out and research some shit.
Isn't it interesting trying to be positive? Someone will be real quick to try and fucking pull you down a peg. Like, did you see that? Those
100%.
See those two girls, Annabelle and Imogen, and they did an interview on ID magazine about they've been involved with protesting against the TPPA.
Cool.
And in the article, it discusses how they're both like real light skinned, but they both identify as Māori.
Yeah.
And so from this article that came up in the article, but from that, people like hard out attack them about like, shut up, you're fucking white. And it's like, yo, this is not about it's not about their heritage. It's like...
Yeah, what's the TPPA got to do with like your racial identification?
Yeah, and apparently they were really attacked over it. We want to get them on the podcast too.
Yeah, it'd be awesome to get them on.
I reckon that's a problem with New Zealand. Like, as soon as you, maybe not just New Zealand, but in my experience, having spent most of my life here, is that when you put yourself on a public platform and the further your reach, and the more you take a stand about something, people are just waiting for you to fall on your face, you know?
Yeah.
Like, people love it.
Yeah.
People are like, we're like a big, like, yay, they failed society, rather than like, hey, good on them for trying.
Yeah.
That's my take on it, you know?
Yeah. I think, because I don't know, if the person's an actual arsehole, I'll revel in their failure. But,
yeah.
Yeah.
I give a lot of people like, oh, yeah, maybe you didn't think about it like this, you know? But when people are continually like being horrible or putting awful things into the public sphere, then I might hit them up about it.
Yeah.
But, you know, I try and give things a bit of context. And I guess like also like I'm aware what it's like to be a little more in the public eye than a lot of people. Yeah. And so I try and give people the benefit of the doubt because I'm aware of how I could be misinterpreted. If you didn't know me or you'd never heard of any of my previous work or whatever. You know? But it is I do think we jump to like down people's throats a little too quickly. Yeah. Definitely. But at the same time, like I don't know, we should be into like trying to teach people or hey, didn't you think about this? Or when you say that, it does this, rather than just be like, you're a fucking piece of shit.
Yeah.
But you're really good at that. Like, you're much better than that than most people, most left-wing people.
Yeah, well, because you know, I know a lot of left-wing people, and sometimes I'm like, dude, you're being so painful right now. People aren't going to... It's not about, like, being the most right at things. It's about, like, trying to make a difference and change people's opinions. And to do that, you need to talk with people, not at them.
But it's just that thing, though, like, you know, when someone posts some right-wing shit... It just fucks up my whole day. I'm just like, I'm just gonna block you because it's like, I mean, I guess around the election there's a few people I talked to, and one guy actually talked out of voting national, which I was kind of stoked with. Yeah. And because I was like, okay, this is important to engage, you know. But generally, if someone just posts some fucking ignorant shit, I'm just like,
the other day, like a friend of a friend wrote something about like Auntie Helen, referring to Helen Clark, and like free trade agreements were a great thing, and they created jobs, and I was like. Well, unless you're like a massive corporation, already wealthy, or an Uplu Mobile white New Zealander such as yourself, like there's actually gonna be a lot of negative ramifications.
Yeah.
And I posted links and articles around how like NAFTA messed up, Mexico, or how numerous free trade agreements have created like really crappy economic processing zones where no tax goes back into the country and there's massive environmental fallout and people work for minimum wages and like all these negatives that can stem from free trade agreements. Because I was trying to, like, while I disagreed with him strongly, educate him a little bit.
Yeah.
But not in a condescending sense or being like, yo, did you think about it like this,
Yeah.
Well,
you just have access to those channels, so you know about that stuff,
And flat out arguing is rarely productive, is it? Like, I mean, like, there's debating and there's arguing.
Exactly.
Like, as soon as shit turns into a pissing contest and it's not productive anymore.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of it
Sometimes people say some shit, man. Like, I remember this guy was posting this hateful shit about fat people on his page. And
I get criticized for that.
Oh, yeah,
no, but we've talked about that, though, because I think...
People think I'm body shaming. Because I'm down with, like, feminists and, like...
But there is that intersection, like we've talked about, there's an intersection between there is body shaming and then there's, like,
health
advocacy. And there's a grey area where those two things meet. And that's where you get into trouble. And
I get into trouble because people are like, why are you saying that about fit people? They're not better. And I'm like, no, I'm not saying that they're better. I'm just saying that, like, being healthy and not dying and not, like, having a heart attack walking up the stairs, that's good for everyone.
Yeah.
I don't care what you look like. Like, if you're into, like, people who are, like, curvier, all power to you. But make sure your organs aren't surrounded by, like, fats. You'll have a shit life that will end sooner. Do you know what I mean?
I just feel like maybe social media, though...
Social media is
not
difficult because of the context.
Yeah.
But then, that is true. Social media, it does have its failings when it comes to communicating things. And if you write a big thing, you're like, no one reads it anyway.
For real.
People, we live in a soundbite culture, for better or worse.
Well, it's just so hard to get in context
Yeah, totally.
with social media. Cool, should we wrap it up?
I'd love to wrap it up.
You've got to kickbox train people.
Yeah, I got to teach people some Muay Thai at 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for
It's
having
been
me.
awesome.
Yeah, thanks very much, Richie.
thank you.
And you'll be back.
I hope
for
so.
sure.
Yeah, I'd love to come back anytime.
Well, I'm going away soon, so we were hoping that maybe you could come and co-host occasionally.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
It'd be great. I love talking with people.
Yeah, you're good at it.
My dad used to be like, you're not just going to get through life just being nice to people.
Shame, Dad.
I'm like, yo, Dad, it's worked out pretty good so far. It's like...
Oh, man, fatherly advice.
Yeah.
Maybe that could be a new segment where we ask the guest the best fatherly
My dad
best
also,
or worst
my dad
fatherly
also
advice
did
they've
teach
got.
me it does a man good to cry. That was something my dad told me.
Hey, dope.
As what?
It does a man good to cry.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a weird one coming from his generation, eh?
I know it was. I got
Yeah.
beat up once by like a bunch of guys when I was 15, and I was like, not crying because I got beat up. I was crying because I felt angry and powerless. And he was like, just have a cry. It does a man good to cry. Let it go.
Dope. Shot Richie's dad.
Big Rex.
That's really nice.
I'm trying to think of advice my dad gave me.
Yeah.
My dad's pretty cool. I love my dad.
My dad told me when I was about 12, I know we're supposed to finish, but he was like, if someone fucks with you, punch them dead in the nose. And we, oh no, I was younger than that. I was like maybe 10, and we moved back from Australia, and I had like a slight Australian accent, went to Standard 4 at Central School, and people teased me about Australian accent, and I was just popping dudes in the nose. And that was when I learned that you can fucking shut people up by punching them in the nose.
I don't know if that's the best lesson for it. But still...
My dad, I remember going to him when I was about 11 or 12 and saying that I wanted to be a writer, and he just said, read. And I think
that's cool.
At the time, it
It's
bummed me
pithy.
out, but like in looking back, it's actually really good
shot
advice.
Dad. Yeah. And look at you now. A writer.
Yeah.
Dad's all
Playing
right,
for pizza.
Shot Dad.
Sweet. Should we wrap it up?
Yeah.
All right. Peace out.
Thanks
New
again,
Zealand,
bro.
the world.